Okay, guess we're live. Hey, everybody, to episode 31 of Outdoors with MSA with Anthony Jones and myself, John Abernathy. How you doing, bud?
I'm good, bud. How are you?
Oh, can't complain, can't complain.
Heard that, man. Got a lot to cover today. Got a huge guest today, man.
Yeah,
Very big guest. I'm super excited and can't wait for him to come in. So, you want to do a quick recap of what we did last weekend as far as getting vets out hunting?
yes, man, please, go ahead. I'm just tagging us
Absolutely.
in these real quick so it shows up on ours. We should be good. I did us both.
Oh, cool. So, this past weekend, as everybody knows, was Veterans Duck Hunt out of 3 locations in Tennessee. Plus, we sent 2 to Arkansas on a hog hunt. All places had huge success, which is a great way for February to go. Uh, here's just one of the 50-something pictures I got of the hog hunt with Blaine Pierce. We sent 2 vets, 1 Marine, 1 Army up there. Had a super good time. I think they killed 12 hogs in the first day, killed a bunch the second day. Blaine, this is the second year in a row that we've done this hunt. Blaine's done such a super good job. And then kind of brag on the Tennessee chapter a little bit. Jonathan Schnepp, the chapter captain, he's right there, doing a great job. I think that trip was out of maybe Camden Bottoms or Haynes, something. That's one of them. Then that one was Paris Landing, and then this is the Dyersburg trip. Travis Gussman did a really good job with that one. Huge thank you to Delta Thunder Outfitters for putting this trip on. Uh, it's not every day we get a good trip like that. So for everybody that has donated trips to us before, we really appreciate it. So, yeah. I mean, that's what we're all about. Getting vets outdoors, man. Or first responders. We try to acknowledge them and get them out too.
Got to get who.
Yeah. Let's go ahead and run through our sponsors and then we can bring in Larry. Appalachian Custom Calls. 2 I run with during turkey season. If you're looking for a veteran-owned company that makes super affordable mouth calls, pot calls, they're who to go with. I've used their calls from Wyoming to Kansas, all over Kentucky and Tennessee, and the birds love them. Old Indian Tricks LLC, Dan DeWitt, he's been a guest on our show multiple times. We preach to you all the time how synthetic scents stay longer in the ground based on natural urine, which goes away super fast. So now's the time to be making your mock scrapes. This is going to tell you what bucks you're going to have for this coming deer season. It's never too early to make mock scrapes. Chris Parnell from Camo Dust, the guy is on something really big there, man. If you're looking for a dry scent eliminator so you're not spraying yourself down with super wet stuff during the cold weather, Camo Dust is where to go. Veteran Innovative Products, Matt Frutte, he's came out with several new broadheads. You should go check him out. Veteran VIP or veteranip.com.
Got to get
Yeah, we definitely should. Bryce Hensley from Foxtrot Ammo, guy's doing an incredible job. If you're looking for a great patterning load to whether you're trying to hunt coyotes, deer, turkey, or waterfowl at longer distances, this is the way to go. Putting more shot downrange compared to your standard lead. So,
Yep. Sorry.
okay. This weird thing pop up on my. So I've sent the invite to Larry Stevens, owner of Bull Creek Outfitters. We're going to bring him in today, talk about Osceola hunting, and then go from there. Did you ever hear about the boat? Did that guy ever get back with you? No.
No,
I think some of these posts are spam, and they're just because they know that's what we're looking for.
Yeah, no, I've reached out to several people. Um, the thing with it is though, man, like people are like, yeah, I want $3,000 for this boat, and then I look at the pictures and it's like, dude, I've got to restore the whole thing. Like, no, I'm not. I'll give you 800 maybe, like, and
Right.
that's just for the trailer. Yeah.
Well, that I found a sweet boat, man,
Yeah.
and the lady sold it before I could get somebody down there to look at it. I thought it was too good to be true, and apparently it was because I couldn't get it fast enough.
Oh, that 800.
Yeah, 14 or 15, 16-foot flat bottom, had motor, had trolling motors, depth finders, good trailer. That'd been a great boat to have to run on Tennessee River and go noodling.
Yeah. Morning, Armin.
So, does that go better?
Whenever I talk, you can definitely hear me and yours, but it's better actually. It's a little better. Gotta
Yeah.
get you a pair of these.
Right. Yeah, I do, man. It's them 5 kids are kind of preventing me from doing a lot of things, but I need to get me a nice pair of headphones. Let me message Larry and let him know he can join.
Yeah.
There we go. But went and checked my trap line today. Nothing in it. So that's 2 weeks straight that I've not had anything in my trap line. So outside of 2 possums, I did have a triggered one. I dug up one. He dug it up and made the bait. So I've got 15 traps to put out tomorrow. So it'll be a good time.
Well, didn't you just move your trap line?
Yeah, well, I'm going to trap the same property. I'm just going to move it further back. So there's Larry. Might be working on his camera.
Is the camera?
Nah, I don't see you, Mr. Larry, but I hear you loud and clear.
Oh man, what in the world? Hang on a second. Let me jump in here and see. I can see myself on the screen. I should have got on here with you before.
It's okay.
Huh.
Only noodling Armand does is on a plate of spaghetti.
Good night.
That's funny, Armand.
I don't blame him, man. I did that one trip and can't say it was. It was interesting. It was an adventure. Can't say it's exactly something I want to go do every weekend.
Right. Noodling to me is not going out hand grabbing. I'm talking pool noodles, 10 foot of trot line, and hooks. I ain't going and sticking my hand in a den and trying to pull out a catfish and grab on a 20-pound snapping turtle. That would just be my luck. So I'll pass on that.
Oh yeah.
That or you get down there and you get hooked and then you get tangled up, can't get out. I just don't feel like drowning today. So, uh-oh. What happened?
He has to reconnect his mic and his camera.
I don't know what happened.
Yeah, let's talk about this while he's figuring that
out. Oh, yeah. So we got our MSA Turkey Slam gun raffle going on right now. You can win a TriStar 12 gauge over under or a 6-hour M17 9mm. $25 a ticket, $5 for 100. Pay via PayPal or Cash App. You do not have to be present. We are drawing it February 19th. All the money that we raise from this is going towards the Turkey Slam hunts. So if you weren't able to purchase a T-shirt, can buy a raffle ticket, and it's going to a good cause. So I just got off the phone with a main outfitter today to go in with our 50 turkey hunts that our goal is. So we're going to do a 2-day turkey hunt up in Maine, which is a state I've always dreamt about turkey hunting. So, but if the vet that gets selected for it wants to hunt additional days, it's like $150 a day. It's super cheap. And I think we're going to do a bear hunt with him as well. So
Yeah.
hard to beat, man. He does rabbit hunts too. I need to dig into it, and maybe we got some vets up around Maine, Vermont that would be good in going on a rabbit hunt. They're hard to beat.
It's been a long time since I've been on a rabbit hunt.
Well, that's good to hear. I'd love to. I thought we were going to have a good Rhode Island hunt. Or not Rhode Island. I think it was Connecticut and Massachusetts with I can't remember the guy's name, but he got booked up on us, so we rescheduled it for next year. So definitely could use a Rhode Island hunt. So I appreciate you stepping up on that one.
Larry's fighting with the technology.
He's having yeah. I mean, maybe if we just got to run it without his camera, that's fine.
Yeah, that'd be
nothing wrong with that. As long as I hear his voice and hear what he's thinking, that's all that matters. Let me
let you do something. Let's see. We got anything else I can throw up on the screen here while we're waiting? That's the background music.
do what?
I said I can play some background music.
Yeah, that'd be cool. Yeah, we got a trip with Ryan.
Yeah. When's the Tennessee turkey season opening up?
For juvenile, it is the last weekend in March. For regular season, it is April 2nd. Tennessee season changes every year. It's always the closest Saturday to April 1st.
Oh, okay.
Unless they decide to change it,
Is it the closest Saturday after April 1st? So it'll never start like March 20 or April, May?
No, it'll start in March. Oh. Not next year, but in 2 years it'll be in March. So
cool.
But yeah, I love it when it starts in March, though, man. It's a little colder. The birds gobble a little harder. So yeah, we did this test run yesterday, but he didn't have a camera, so he went to Walmart and got him a camera and a new audio. Maybe we should have test ran with it before he decided to come in. But that's okay. We're not professionals. Never claimed to be. Want to be one day.
One day we'll get there. maybe by episode 131 we'll finally have our stuff figured out. I mean, today we just got it added to the group where it live streams to the group instead of going to our personal pages.
That took forever to figure out, though. Took forever to figure out.
Oh, we just had to have you do it.
Yeah. Well, I'm not tech savvy, dude. At least when it comes to this type of stuff.
No.
You have me download something, I can do it, but I need to turn my shed into a podcast booth. That's what I need to do.
We can do our best, Armand. I'm not going to promise it'll be professional editing, but between me and Anthony, we can get something put together for you.
Right.
So. Yeah, Anthony could probably throw something together. You did throw this one video together.
Yeah, but it wasn't a good video. I want to do higher quality.
Yeah.
I want to do very high quality.
So what's new?
Just need somebody that knows how to videotape.
What's new in the life of Anthony Jones?
Just preparing for turkey season. So I'm going to start outfitting this spring in Kentucky. Me and a vet named Kurt Hambrick came across a very large section of ground, and we are going to guide turkey hunts on it to pay for the lease. So super excited about that. And Can't wait to see how that goes. I'm trying to. Well, I can't. I was going to add these photos. Larry's got photos. Maybe I can email them to you, and we'll put his photos up, and we can let him talk about them that way, even though we can't see them. So
Yeah, go ahead and send them.
yeah. Oh, I can't save them. No, that ain't gonna work. I have to use my phone. Well, I wish Larry would come on.
Yeah, just tell them to hook that mic back up and let's roll with that. My shirt finally came in.
I've seen that.
Green screen a little bit.
I like it though. Their shirts are such good quality. I really enjoy them. They're super soft.
Yeah.
And I just like the Foxtrot Ammo logo on it. I'm wearing my Appalachian Custom Calls Pro Staff shirt today. So, man, I'm not good at this stuff. Oh,
no,
outdoor.
you're not.
There we go.
Are you sending it to my main email or the?
I'm sending it to Outdoors with MSA.
Okay, good.
As soon as I can figure out how to send those attachments. There we go.
Y'all hear
like
me?
I said,
yes, sir.
Hey,
there you are.
How you doing, Mr. Larry?
I'm doing good.
Well,
I guess you still can't.
That, man.
I guess you still can't see me. Let me turn the.
No, we can't, but that's okay. We're fixing to upload some of the photos that you just sent me of some of your turkey calls, and we'll just run from there, man.
Yeah.
So, anywho, so tell us a little bit about yourself, Larry.
Well, let's see. I'm hearing hearing myself talk here. I don't know what that's coming from. Getting some back feed somehow.
Probably from me.
It's back feed from Anthony. He doesn't have a headset on, so we get to hear everything he hears.
Okay.
Well, I couldn't. It's on my computer, man.
Yeah, out in the world. So I probably started hunting when I was about 20, and I'm 55 now. Started off primarily running a mouth call, and I wasn't really particularly good at it, and but I was good at hunting, and I killed, trapped, fished anything that flies, swims, walks in the state of Florida, and so I killed turkeys with woodsmanship when I started. Really, wasn't a lot of calling in it, but later on the calling kind of developed down the road, and as everybody does, advanced and got better and worked at it, and met some people that knew more than I did that helped me a little. Eventually started. Well, I'd already been taking some photographs and videoing turkeys, and but eventually I started guiding probably about 8 years ago, I guess, 8 or 9. And one of the first guys I hunted was a guy from southeast Georgia, and he came down and he had a leather holster. It's going to be similar to the picture that you post that mine's modeled after. So he had a long box, and he had a trumpet with him, and we had an incredible hunt. We struck so many turkeys, and we killed a bird, and it was probably to this day one of the most things that influenced me the most in probably turkey hunting. And I'd already decided I was already building mouth calls, but I'd already decided at some point I was going to be building some box calls, but that kind of really spurred it on. So I decided I was going to get into building long boxes. So, and he had told me on the hunt, he said, Larry, if you're going to be in this business, you got to get yourself a good strike call. You need a long box. So he gave me some names, and one of them was Lamar Williams, which probably, if anybody's very serious about turkey, and they probably heard his name. Well, he just happens to live an hour and 15 minutes from me, strangely enough. I guess there's probably something to that. But so I went to Lamar and ended up finagling a long box out of him. And that was the first custom call I bought from a call maker. And that kind of started it off. And so I was going over and visiting with him and talking to him. And eventually I told him that I had an interest in building calls, and I was going to build some box calls. And the only thing he really said to me at first was, there's more to it than meets the eye. Lord, was he right. So anyway, that kind of started it. And shortly after that, so this guy that I hunted there, he actually owns a big stretch on the Ohoopee River in Georgia. And he's got some cedar there that grows on an island in the river swamp. And these things some of them are standing dead snags. It's been standing dead for decades. I mean, they're 200-plus-year-old cedar trees. So most of my cedar comes from there, which so I got a little advantage on that. Stuff is really hard to get. You can't buy cedar like that. So anyway, that was a big help. But so I started making long boxes, and I don't know what number I'm up to, about close to 350, I guess, long boxes I've made in my career, and had been making some short boxes but only just a very few. But Lamar had been pushing me to kind of ramp that up. So this year, got short boxes are been added, and we've went to the Unicoi show, and I brought a bunch of shorts with me, and we did Webster, Florida over the weekend. So this Thursday we leave for Perry, Georgia. They got a Turkey Rama show there. And then we're going to go from Perry right on to the NWTF convention. We've got a booth there. So,
hey, Larry, what makes your long box calls so effective in that dense humidity down in Florida?
Well, I mean, a long box is I would urge anybody, if you're a serious turkey hunter, you should have a long box. And you should also carry some kind of an air-operated call, wing bone or a trumpet. Amazing calls. And it carries, it pays to carry a variety of calls. But I don't know what's so special about a long box. It's typically higher pitched than a short box, and turkeys just seem to respond to it. Most people just use them for a strike call, but that's really a mistake. I mean, other than if you're in a really open spot that you can't be moving, to finish a bird, there's no reason you shouldn't finish a bird with a long box. And I was talking to Marlon Watkins one time, and he says, I always like to finish a bird with a call that I struck him with. And I always remember that. But a lot of people don't finish a bird with their long box. But if you meet a man in the woods, he's carrying a long box or a trumpet or a wing bone, he's a threat. He's a threat to the turkeys. So don't let him around your turkeys. Lord. Professional grade equipment.
The one time I went turkey hunting last year, the guy I went with carried a wing bone, and it actually opened my eyes to the wing bone, because I had never seen one used before.
Yep.
And even though we didn't get on a bird, they were responding to it more than any of the mouth calls I had brought with me. Because being private military, you always want your hands free, and I just always thought mouth calls were the best option, because I had my hands free to do anything else I needed.
And they're awesome. They actually sound more turkey than a wing bone or a trumpet. Why turkeys respond to them so well, I can't answer. But I can tell you this: I've broke some turkeys with wing bones and trumpets, and I would carry easily $1,000 worth of calls in my vest, because when I started guiding, you got to, just like if you're a house framer or a mechanic, you got to invest in tools. So I've easily got $1,000 worth of calls on me at any one time, and I've had birds that have been on them for an hour and a half, and I couldn't break them; they wouldn't come. And a couple of notes on a wing bone or a trumpet, here they come. And I've seen that a number of times.
And that's what interests me in turkey hunting, because I'm not as serious a turkey hunter as Anthony here or others. But
You
just
will be.
the sheer that's what he's saying. I'm gonna go with Anthony this year. He says he's gonna make a believer out of me. We'll see. But the thing that does interest me is just the sheer amount of calls, because I'm mainly a deer hunter, and here in Tennessee and Georgia, deer don't respond to calls as well as they do
Right.
up north.
Right.
And so it gets kind of boring just sitting there, right?
Mhm.
Like, you're just waiting with luck, and I have none of that, so it's horrible. So that does interest me about the turkey hunt, is that there's just so many different varieties that you can have.
Yeah. Well, yeah. That's probably one of the most interesting things about turkey hunting is you can be. There's so many different ways to do it. You don't have to carry 7 different types of calls. You can just be a pot call guy. You're going to be successful. If you're a good hunter and you call at the right times and you do the right things. Or you could be somebody that has a call of every variety, because you never know what a bird is going to respond to any particular day. But the way you go about hunting turkeys is you can be somebody that just sits inside a blind all day long or for 4 or 5 hours at a time, whatever. Or you can be somebody at the other end of the spectrum that hunts very aggressively, and there ain't going to be nothing boring about your day. So if you're somebody that has a problem with being bored, I mean, you can certainly take the fight to the turkey. And typically, I've been I've always been aggressive turkey hunter by nature, but guiding really forced me to be even more aggressive, because I always felt like I want to show my client some action.
You
So
got to get the client on the bird.
yeah, so a lot of times I pick them up at 5 o'clock in the morning, and a lot of the places I hunt are a pretty good little ways from my office. So by the time we're done hunting, maybe at 11 o'clock in the morning, it don't pay to drive all the way back, because we're going out to roost and scout for the afternoon and potentially hunt. So we usually end up staying out all day, and we probably won't get in till 10 o'clock at night. I mean, but they get their money's worth. I hunt them hard. I've actually broke a couple of guys that were considering getting into turkey hunting, and I overdid it a little bit, and I broke them. I'm ashamed to say I broke them.
I feel like I would fare better down in Florida because I grew up in swamps. There's a great dismal swamp in North Carolina. No, it's nothing like anything down in Florida. But what I'm not a fan of is the mountains. I'm not a mountain person.
Yeah, that's a different deal there.
The guy that took me out last year, I'm sure he was laughing so hard on the inside, because he was like, "Yeah, we're just gonna run up this hill, sit and wait, and then go down and back up." I was like, "No. We're gonna go up this hill once, and when we come down, I'm done."
Yeah. Oh boy. Well, Florida has such a varied terrain to hunt in. I mean, you mentioned swamps. Yes, certainly turkeys certainly live in swamps here, like a river swamp, creek swamp is just. I mean, that is what you think of when you think of hunting Osceola. But there's places that they live on high, dry, where there ain't sometimes you wonder how they survive because there's no water. I guess they just get it from the plants that they're nipping in the morning times while the dew's still on it, and whatever bugs they eat, or maybe some water that gathered in a mud puddle on a clay road. But that's about it. Like Ocala National Forest in the middle of the state, kind of north central. Man, there's places there that's high sand hills with sand pines, scrub oak. Um, and it's amazing that a turkey can live there. And when they first opened that about, I don't know, 15 years ago for turkey hunting, been closed for a long time. It would rival any turkey hunting I'd ever done at that point. It was outstanding, but it's been pretty hard hunted since then, and it's not the same. But big contrast in type of places you can turkey hunt.
So
What
we had
makes-
somebody. Oh, go ahead. Andy.
What makes the Osceola so much harder to hunt compared to, say, an Eastern?
Probably the biggest thing is he don't gobble much. Now you can have a turkey that gobble 100, 150 times in the morning, but it's not normal. Probably a typical Osceola, he's going to gobble 4 to maybe 12 times on the limb, and he's on the limb for 15 minutes, maybe 20 from the time it's gobble time to the time he pitches. Then when he hits the ground, he'll probably cut his gobbling in half. So, and then within 30 minutes, probably not going to gobble again, at least for a while. Then up about maybe 8:30, he's probably going to start gobbling a little bit more. But every like people, every turkey's an individual. You just never know how he's going to react, which is probably another one of the interesting things about turkey hunting. You'll never have the same turkey hunt twice. And they can do such a variety of things to you, and I mean, they really are all individuals. So that's probably the biggest thing that messes guys up is they just don't gobble much.
Does an Osceola's gobble sound different than an Eastern?
I think it does a little bit. I don't think they're. Yeah, it's a little bit different. I don't know how to describe it, but an older bird here's generally got a shorter gobble. And generally, the older birds don't gobble very little. 2-year-old, he's going to have a longer gobble, be a little higher pitched as a rule. But I think it sounds a little different than an Eastern. Can't describe how.
Does the humidity play into it?
Oh, absolutely. Now, there's a lot of people that think it don't. And pressure, that's I guess, a little bit of a controversy, if you will. But I spend probably as much time in the woods and around turkeys as anybody you'll meet. I usually start taking pictures of turkeys by the first of the year. And I haven't this year because I've been behind on building turkey calls. My design business was so busy this year that I couldn't build calls through the summer. So I got stuck trying to build them all coming right before turkey season here. But generally, I'm taking pictures of turkeys. I'm around turkeys every morning from the first of the year until the season opens in mid-March. And by the time that the NWTF convention is over, I would already be running trail cameras normally and feeding some birds to try to keep them into the middle core of the properties that I hunt on, keep them away from the edge where they could get hurt by the neighbors. But so I'll be in the woods every day from mid-February till the season opens somewhere. And pressure and humidity, particularly pressure, but they go hand in hand. If you're going to have humidity, high humidity, you're probably going to have low pressure because there's a front coming in. And a lot of guys will tell you, oh yeah, I've heard birds burn it down on a rainy day and gobbling at thunder and all this stuff. But an Osceola, he likes all turkeys like high pressure, clear bluebird skies, high pressure. Turkeys are going to gobble. If you get a low pressure, which probably means high humidity, but it's really the pressure. When you walk out in the morning and you're getting into your truck and you owl one time and it sounds like it just rolls out there and flops on the ground, you don't hear it ring back off the timber, you ain't gonna hear a turkey gobble that morning. You better have a backup plan. You better have scouted and know where you can get pretty close to a turkey, because I don't know why. My personal opinion is that because you won't hear other birds call, you won't hear songbirds either on those mornings. And I think that they just know that their call don't carry. Other birds aren't going to be able to hear it that well, and there's not a lot of sense in calling and attracting attention when you're not going to get much from what you're doing. Turkey don't probably think like that, but there's a reason that they don't call on days like that. And I guess that's just nature's just builds that into them. But there's definitely a lot to pressure.
What's some of the challenge that an Osceola hunter would face, or somebody coming to hunt Osceolas, compared to hunting Easterns in Tennessee, Georgia, etc.?
Yeah, probably. I mean, if you're not from the South, probably the biggest thing is going to be, well, one, just finding a place, but assuming you got a place, the different terrain, the heat and humidity, mosquitoes, and the lack of gobbling. Like I said, I've had days that I've heard birds gobble a couple hundred times in the morning, but that ain't the normal. I guess it wasn't last year, it was the year before, was the hottest temperatures I'd ever seen during turkey season. We had some days, and we hunted all day long, dark to dark, and it was 93, 94 degrees. I mean, it was brutal, dude. I had a pair of guys I was hunting, and they were from North Carolina, and we'd been on. There were some 2-year-olds, and they were using a pasture and a little hammock section, and we had gotten in the hammock, and there wasn't a breath of breeze, and we'd actually started off on a different track that morning. We got there middle of the day, 11, 12 o'clock, and the birds were gobbling then, and they gobbled until we left at probably 4 o'clock. It's just a little bit. They gobble every now and then. So we hung with them, but it was absolutely brutal. And at one point, there was a lull, and the bird hadn't said anything in a while, and I'm like, we probably need to go do something else. So I crawled up to the guy that was sitting in front of me, and the other guy was sitting over to the right about 20 yards, and so we're there discussing the situation, and I looked over, and the other guy, he was standing up, and he's just standing there with this blank stare on his face, looking ahead. And I knew right there. I said, I done pushed too hard. I told the other guy, I said, man, we got to get this guy back to the motel and get him in the AC. This is not good. He's had it. So I went and dropped them off, and I went and tracked some rows and roosters for the evening while they sat in the AC.
So how's
brutal?
How's the Osceola population doing down there in Florida? Is it rising, falling?
No, I think it's at least holding its own. We've had really good populations for the last number of years. I haven't seen any, at least in Central Florida. I hunt about 5 counties maybe in East Central Florida, and there's no issue with our populations here. I'm not sure about the rest of the state, but I hear some pretty good reports from other guys that I know that hunt around. It's done a lot. Everybody seems to be a lot of turkeys in Florida. So we don't have the population issues I'm hearing about in other states.
So I hear you're making regular size box calls. Now,
Yep.
can you hit on what's the primary difference between a regular box call and a long box?
Well, a long box has got a handle, and a short box. They do make handled short boxes to confuse things even more. Uh, but a short box don't have a handle. Typically, the box is going to be about 8 inches long, roughly. And I mean, there's such a giant array of different sizes of box calls are made. But a long box is generally going to be around 12 inches total long. And of course, a short box will have a handle that sticks out another couple inches. So a long box overall is several inches longer than a short box.
What's the shortest box call you've ever seen? Like, you ever seen somebody try to make like a little 4-inch one?
Yeah, actually, I've got one sitting here on the shelf. It's actually a production call that Quaker Boy made for one of the NWTF shows, and they made them for the Jake's program, and we got one for our daughter. The whole thing can't be not even 5 inches long, with a little bit of handle sticking out of it. It's just it's a milled box. It's a machine box, obviously, but yeah, there's some guys make some pretty short boxes. But the most common is going to be 7 or 8 inches long, plus the handle.
So we got some pictures here of some of the stuff you've been working on.
Yeah, we were a little ill prepared this morning, so I just snapped a couple. That's one of my wing bones.
Yeah, tell us a little bit about how that thing works and
wing
probably
bone is a
the proper
suction
way
call.
to use it.
And I guess the simplest way to describe that is you, for clucking, you just make kind of a kiss noise, just a while on the call, and it sound like this. I have no idea what it's going to sound like in this microphone, but we'll try it. And you kind of wish the video was on. You basically cup your hands around the bell, and you wrap your finger over the end of it so that you can meter the air coming in, kind of act as a baffle. And you just make a little. It's a suction call, so you just suck in and make a little kissing noise, and you can cluck, and then you can tick-tock it, high-low clucks, by just cracking your hand open and closed, and then the yelp.
Sounds pretty good.
So basically, your lips act as the reed, and that little black thing you see towards the end of the mouthpiece there is used. You adjust that for how deep the mouthpiece goes into your lips, and so your lips make really all the sound by just being tightly closed and the air sucking over that tight gap, and then the rest of the bone is just an amplifier. So, but
what is that one made out of?
Yeah, it's actually the 3 bones out of a turkey's wing. It's kind of a nasty job to make one. You got to clean it all up, cut the knuckles off the ends, and rod all the fat out of it. And oh man, boil them, scrape them. It's a process.
It's a process. Got you.
And then I put a little leather wrap on mine. That a lot of the long boxes I make, I recess the handle for the thickness of the leather that I use to wrap the handle with, which is something I started doing to be a little different than other people.
Okay.
So
I see
most of my long boxes have a leather wrap on the handle.
Yeah, I like that. Yeah,
like that spalted holly call there. Yeah. So
that's good. So tell us about these.
What's that?
Go ahead and tell us about these. Are all of those the same wood? I can see a few different types in there.
Yeah, there's a bunch of different woods there, and you can make a turkey call from almost any wood. Um, the main thing is that you want a softer wood for the body and a harder wood for the paddle. Um, you know, Lamar Williams is, I guess, if there's somebody that has somewhat mentored me, I guess. It's not official, I guess, but I talk to him regularly, and he's always sharing things with me. Uh, Old school, and he's a disciple of. He was mentored by Neil Cost, which is maybe arguably the most famous turkey call maker there's been. Passed away, early 2000s. Uh, Bottoms was typically made with cedar, butternut, Honduran mahogany was one of their favorites, um, and poplar. So, and then for short box lids, walnut. That was the material, and long boxes were all basically cedar paddles. But a cedar paddle is very light, and some guys starting out have a little trouble playing a long box with a cedar paddle because of the lightness. So a short box has a spring under the paddle, and basically, I mean, you may have to apply a little pressure, but generally the box kind of runs itself. You just have to move the paddle left and right, horizontal. You run it, call that running a paddle flat. Long box has no spring underneath it. So everything that you get out of the box is determined by how you hold the call and input from you. Whether you cant the lid, which means you tip it, the amount of pressure you put on the paddle, all that is whatever you put into it is what you're going to get out of it. So it's all dependent on the player of the call, which makes it a little more difficult, but the rewards are worth it if you can get to where you can play the thing. So,
What type of wood is that one right there? Old tiger stripe.
yeah, that's something that I started doing. That is some. That was not particularly old poplar there, but that is some old barnwood. That had it was circle sawn. The marks are from the circle saw, the milling process.
Okay.
And so I can't. That was just something I come out. I call that a saw call. I leave the saw marks on the outside of it. So, but to do that, you can't cut your tapers on the outside of the box. So you've got to split the block in two, cut the tapers on the inside, and glue it back together, which is a little more work. But that one has some particularly heavy saw marks on it, but it came out really cool looking. And so I made that from a guy that got me the wood, and I got to carry it to NWTF and give it to him when I see him there in a couple of weeks.
I mean, when you make calls that look that good, I guess you need something to put them in, right?
Yeah. So that's a custom leather holster that I make. I know Lamar has asked me, he said, why do you do that? I mean, we were at the Unicoi show one year, and he says, let me ask you, Larry. Lamar is an exceptional businessman when it comes to his call making and business. And he says, and I knew where he was going with this. He says, how much do you get for one of your holsters? And I said, $80. And he said, okay. He says, how much do you get for a long box? I said, well, the standard one's $140. And he says, and how much time do you have in that holster? I said, well, I got almost 2 hours just hand stitching that thing. And he says, yeah, and how much time you got in a long box? And I said, oh, I probably got a little more than what I stitched just in the stitching. He said, and why do you build holsters? So I said, well, my answer to that is I just wanted to make the best. Literally, I mean, in my humble opinion, there's not many people that make holsters for box calls, but there are a few, but it's got to be one of the best ones that you can buy. So.
Yeah, I mean, most of us just find a pocket or something that it'll fit in.
Yeah, which is kind of hard to do. I mean, I wear a Cabela's tactical vest, and it's got a really deep breast pockets, so I can actually stick a couple long boxes actually in one, and the handle just barely sticks out. But what I normally do is my vest has got a breast strap with a plastic clip on it, which I don't clip together. I just leave that hang wild. And the back of that box has got a belt clip on it. And so I just clip that on that strap and let it hang down my breast. And I always carry binoculars, but it don't interfere with them, and it don't interfere with, mounting a gun or anything like that. So
Yeah,
that's right.
because we all know putting things in your pocket, you're gonna get lint and dirt in them. Does any of that affect the calls? Like you get a bunch of
Well,
debris.
I mean, you don't want to get a
on
bunch of sand and stuff in it. I mean, there's nothing really for the sand to stick to. I mean, it's not like there's anything that's sticky or gummy, which would be a real problem if you did. The underside of the paddle is chalk, so it's super dry, and so you shouldn't have any sand or grit that's going to stick to the paddle. Like any other turkey call, you need to care for them a little bit. If it's going to be a rainy day, don't carry your wood calls. I mean, you could carry a Ziploc bag and keep them in, and just be real careful. I mean, I carry a big trash bag in my pack, in my back of my vest, just in case I get in trouble and it's going to be a bad rain. I'll take my whole vest off and stick it in the trash bag and carry that thing to the truck, because I don't want all my stuff getting wet.
So when you do go to, I'm sorry.
Go ahead.
So when you do go to care for your long box call, would you put something like linseed oil on it and then chalked underneath again, or?
No, you shouldn't ever apply anything to any of your wood calls. I mean, you shouldn't have to, for one. Most boxes are sprayed and finished with a lacquer finish, so you wouldn't want to use, any oil or nothing like that. In a long box, really probably the right way to store it. You don't want to store it in that holster because the leather is probably going to hold some moisture, and it fits pretty snug. And it could apply some pressure to the paddle and cause it to warp over time. So don't store it in the holster. You want to store a long box on a shelf upside down, paddle down, just because the paddle's long and it's only supported on one small spot on the arc of the rails, and over time it could warp. So store it upside down in a dry place inside the house. Not in your truck, not in the garage, away from humidity, because a call should really probably be fabricated at around 10 or 11% moisture content. That way, if you're shipping it north or south, like if I built the call here, like in my shop, if I just leave wood in my shop, it's not conditioned, it's going to absorb humidity from the air, and it's going to be probably 13-14% moisture content. And if I ship that call to somebody up north, they heat their house with gas. Inside their home is probably going to be 6%. So it's going to dry that call out, and it'll harden the wood and shrink the wood. It could change the tune. So, it's really, really hard thing to do to get wood just the right moisture content. But if you can make a call at around 10%, it's probably a good average. And I probably don't have a problem with it, but you definitely want to be, I mean, really all you should need is some chalk. If the paddle ever begins to feel like it's slipping on just a little bit, sand it lightly, just like stroke, 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 stroke with the grain, with the length of the paddle. Probably about 4 strokes, and blow it off, and then re-chalk it. You'll be good to go. That's all you should ever have to do.
If Anthony does get me into this, I would have left all my calls in the garage. That's where all my
not a good thing. So, especially if you live in a humid environment. It probably wouldn't be okay up north.
Nope, Georgia, it's humid.
Yeah. Now, I mean, it may not affect everybody's calls, but if your call was made real dry, maybe it came from a call maker from up north, where his shop may be 7 or 8% moisture content, and you live in the South and your garage is 14, 15%, you know, you got humidity that's in the 90s.
Where the hot water heater is, it's 100% humidity in that garage.
Right. Not good for calls. Yeah. Man.
So, Larry, if you're going hunting tomorrow, what's the one thing that you will take in the woods to have the most success at harvesting a bird?
That I would take in the woods?
Yep, just one thing. Like, well, besides your shotgun. Because
yeah, right. Well, probably. I mean, I hoot natural voice. Not that I'm great at it, but I got my little technique that I do, and birds respond to it. You don't got to be a great person at howling, but obviously you can't kill a turkey. You can't locate one. So, I mean, you can locate turkeys with turkey calls, but that's really not the best thing to do. So an owl or first thing in the morning, that's my favorite. I mean, I could kill probably as many turkeys as the average person with an owl call as they could with a turkey call. I mean, if you scout and you locate birds and you roost them, probably roosting is one of the. I mean, there's a lot of guys that don't roost. Some people don't believe in it. Maybe they think it's cheating or whatever. But to me, that's, especially as being a guide, that's one of the most important things that I do. I want to find as many birds as I can find and have as many options, because you never know what might happen come daylight the next morning. The birds you go to is fouled for whatever reason. Maybe another hunter comes on you or something, or maybe some predator, Lord knows. Maybe the bird flew off in the night. I mean, that does happen. So I want to have as many turkeys. I mean, if this turkey falls apart, we worked him, and for some reason he goes off with some hens, won't come to us, I know where I got 5 or 6 more birds. I know where they live. We'll go to them. So I had and I hunt with this guy every year now. He's actually from Tennessee. I won't mention his name, but he was hunting with me one year, and it was the last morning, and we got hung up on this bird that was living on some real high sandy scrub, but he had a route, and he would only be using this road system every second or third day, which is not uncommon for turkeys. And we couldn't get it on him. He would not be in the place that I needed to hunt him when we were there. So last morning we go there. I said, this is the third day. He's got to be here. Well, we didn't hear him. So I said, well, I know where there's some more birds from tracking the roads and so forth. I had some birds located. So we go to this long fence line. It was property boundary, and it was chopped on the neighbors on the other side. So we're easing down the road in the truck, and I look out the window, and there's a big old gobbler track on top of the dew from that morning. Oh, no, this was an old track. I'm sorry. So I look at it. I told Steve, I said, you can bet that bird is living on that chop across the fence. I guarantee he's here. So I stopped the truck. I said, wait right here. I'm just going to step to the front of the truck and call one time, see if we can strike him. He had his window down. I called one time. Ow! Bird gobbles out there in the chops. Oh, Lord, there he is, Bubba. So, and we ended up killing the bird. It was outstanding hunt. We called him, come through the fence. He was by himself, and Steve ended up. Actually, he missed him on the first shot, and he shot him. Steve said he was running on the road. My memory was he had come up off the ground, and he was about 3 feet in the air when he shot him. But anyway, there's a debate to this day about that. But he killed him on the second shot, and fine bird. But had I not been scouting and tracking roads every day and not had that bird as a backup to go to, the hunt might have ended differently. So, but getting back to your question, an owl call and being able to roost birds in the afternoon it's you can kill turkeys without even a turkey call if you can roost them. And so, I mean, you can kill the baddest bird in the woods that won't come to a turkey call if you can roost him and get in front of him in the dark. And depending on where he flies, I mean, if he's in Tennessee and he flies up in the middle of the woods, a mile from the road, it's a lot harder because he can pitch down 360 degrees. But a lot of times in Florida, a bird will roost on the edge. He might be way down in the woods, but he might say it's in a creek swamp or something, and the creek is up and floods into the swamp. He's going to generally walk to the edge of the water and fly up over the water edge. So right where he's flying back down the next morning. You get in front of him, he's going to land in just about shotgun range. If he roosts on the edge of a clear cut, guess where he's flying back into the clear cut the next morning. Edge of a power line, pasture, same thing. Now in those open areas, it creates a little challenge of being able to have something to hide yourself in that open area. But that's for me. That's number one, roosting and being able to owl.
You've kind of hit on different terrains. What's your favorite type of terrain that you like to hunt the turkey on?
Really, a river swamp or creek swamp. It's just so classic. That's my favorite, or some kind of hardwood hammock. I hate hunting planted pines, cypress. Turkeys love a clear cut. In the South, a turkey can use a clear cut up to about the third year. And by the third year, it's almost getting thick enough and tall enough that it can't use it. So certainly the first couple of years, man, if you can find a clear cut, it's a turkey magnet because there's all kind of green stuff that's popping through, all kind of bugs, ideal nesting habitat, the one thing you need to know about turkeys is in the spring is what is a hen going to be doing? Because she kind of dictates everything. Everything revolves around the hen. So when the season's just opening, hens are going to be flocked together. And as the season progresses, and in Florida, generally here, now the last 4 or 5 years, it's been way out of whack. And we've had poults hatching during the season, which has been just a mess. But generally, hens will start to break up after the first week. And by the end of the second week, you see hens, it's going to be 1 or 2 or maybe 3 at the most. They've already kind of picked where they're going to nest. And typically it's not very far from a road because a hen's going to come to the road every morning to dust. Wow, especially when she really starts to nest and set, she's going to dust every day. So in Florida, we have a lot of sand roads. We're blessed with that. So gobblers know that he can walk down the road and he can meet hens on the road, and he can cover a lot of ground. He can see a long ways. He can be seen a long ways. And so tracking the roads is absolute number one way to locate turkeys in Florida and a lot of the Southeast if you've got dirt or clay roads that you can track. And so that's been a big secret for me, if you want to call it a secret, but I track roads. I don't go walking through the woods trying to find turkeys in the woods in Florida. That's just don't. We got a lot of really thick woods, and you ain't gonna cover much ground, and you ain't gonna find many turkeys. They don't leave a whole lot of sign.
Sounds like a good way to find a bunch of snakes.
Yeah, right. At times. That's the number one question I get asked. We're going to see any snakes?
I got one question for you, Larry.
Yep.
If somebody is interested in purchasing one of your long box calls, how do they get in touch with you? Do you have a website, or do you prefer
No,
they
I don't have a website. Really, Messenger on Facebook is probably the best way to reach out to me. That's probably 95% of everybody that gets hold of me is through that. A few people find me on my YouTube page and will email me or call me, but that's really the best way. There's a whole pile of turkey call pictures on there that might have to wade through a bunch of dead turkeys and deer and redfish pictures, but yeah, there's plenty of call pictures on there that I can look at and see. So,
Well, Larry, we appreciate you coming in today and telling us about your box call in Hunting Osceolas. I feel like our viewers had the opportunity to learn a lot, and we can't thank you enough for it, man.
yeah, man, absolutely, anytime. I enjoy it.
Maybe we can bring you back in after turkey season's over, and you can kind of give us a recap on how your season went.
Yeah, I'm not going to hunt a ton of guys this year. It's getting just so hard to find a place to hunt. Everybody's trying to be a guide, and if they got an uncle with 5 acres and a turkey living on it, they think they're a guide and trying to line up a hunt. And so, I mean, I've got a number of places to hunt, but I always want to have about twice as many turkeys as I got hunters, and that's kind of a hard thing to do. So I'm only going to hunt about maybe 6 guys myself, and I booked some hunts for a friend that's got 1,000 acres here, and we'll probably do maybe 4 hunts tops on his place.
Awesome.
That's going to be about it for me. But I have a couple stories for you.
Well, good. Well, good luck this season, Larry, and
Yeah,
once
man.
again, thank you so much for coming on.
Absolutely.
For our
Good.
sponsors real
Good
quick.
luck, y'all.
We got to run through our sponsors real quick, and then we can talk to you after the podcast ends.
Yeah, absolutely.
Okay. Thank you, Larry. There we go. Appalachian Custom Calls, East Tennessee Call Maker, veteran-owned company, specializes in mouth calls, pot calls. They work great. So if you're looking for a mouth call, you got Larry Stevens with his box calls, trumpet calls, wingbone calls. You got Appalachian Custom Calls with their pot calls and mouth calls. Old Indian Tricks LLC, Dan DeWitt with his synthetic scents for mock scrapes and doe and heat. And to see more deer. So if you're looking for a quality scent, now's the time to get it. Chris Parnell from Camo Dust is really on to something big here. There's nothing better than being able to dust yourself down instead of spraying a liquid-based scent eliminator on them cold, frosty mornings. Matt Fute from Veteran Innovative Products, veteran-owned company out of Texas, incredibly sharp broadheads. And I mean, John, I've shot a deer with it, used the same broadhead. John shot a tree, still use the same broadhead. I mean, they're tough.
Don't bring that up. Ain't no need for that. That's in the past. We ain't talking about that.
Bryce Hensley from Foxtrot Ammo, can't thank him enough. If you're looking for a high quality TSS shell that can reach out and touch turkey greater distances, or coyotes or waterfowl, and I think he's even doing deer loads now for them states that allow buckshot. TSS is where to go. Foxtrot Ammo is who you need to get with.
All right, everybody, that's episode 31 with Outdoors with MSA. We'll see you next week with another great episode. Be easy.